Are you ready?
Jamie Markley, David Van Camp, and Scott Robbins.
We just become best friends. Yep.
Making sense of it all.
Now I get it.
And having some fun.
Lighten up, Francis.
We've got, climate change, we're all going to die. Tucker Carlson's back. The Saudis, do they own American golf now? There's a lot to get to today. But let's start here. Massive fight breaking out outside of a school board meeting.
Yeah, big riot outside of a school board meeting in the Los Angeles area. This was Glendale School District. They were set to declare it Pride Month. Well, there's a large Armenian community in the district, and a lot of parents don't like that. Not the community. I'm saying people within that community don't like the Pride nonsense.
Okay, before we go any further, why does Pride have to be any part of a school district? Why?
Because they're communists and they want to force this ideology into people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the most honest answer I've heard so far.
Yeah. They've actually been protesting, the parents have, for months now, because parents are mad about the alphabet soup being poured onto kids starting in kindergarten. There's like LGBTQ plus LMNOP, boron, iron, whatever community curriculum for K through 6. They're like, why? What are the
We're not trying to bring that to children.
Why
Yes, you are. Well, we need to bring it to children.
I don't understand.
For education purposes.
Well, last night, though, for the most part, the protests have been peaceful. But last night, Antifa and a group called Revolutionary Communist, not kidding, that's what the cops say they were called, the Revolutionary Communist members that showed up. Why do you call them commie? Why is it communist ideology? Because literally communists showed up.
They actually say what they are.
Yeah. And they started a riot. And I'll tell you, man, some of these hosses in the crowd, the Armenians were not.
They weren't having it. No, they were not
at all.
No.
Yeah. And KTLA talked to a woman named Seda Terstepanian. She's a retired teacher, actually, there, opposing the whole Pride Month thing. And this is what she had to say.
They're experimenting on children. Young children are very vulnerable. First of all, at that age they're targeting them, children don't have any idea about sex and sexuality.
Oh, it's indoctrination. It's grooming. That's what it is. And, yeah, as far as Antifa and this communist group, you messed with the wrong people.
Uh-huh.
Because now it's real-world stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay? And the beatdown's coming.
See this one big dude taking off his gold chain and saying, "You want to go? Let's go."
Oh, yeah, man. All of a sudden, the big, tough Antifa bro, I don't believe in violence.
Right.
Oh, really? All tough until somebody's staring you down saying, let's go. Wow.
I did notice that they were still adhering to Fauci's rule of wearing masks.
Well, of course. Of course. By the way, speaking of masks, we can get into this later. Did anyone see Leonardo DiCaprio on a ship with another young lady?
She's 22, right?
But he's wearing a mask.
I know, I saw that. But he's got his shirt off.
Yes. Well, he doesn't breathe through his chest, as far as I know.
Well,
why does
gills,
he still have a mask on, for crying out loud? On a boat.
Is he elderly? I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm not quite sure. On his way to the boat? Who knows, man? I have no idea. One of the big stories that I did see, and first when I sent this to you, David, I'm like, okay, man, make heads or tails of that, but it seems like this is for real, and that is the story in the Wall Street Journal about Instagram connecting pedophiles. Now, then the question becomes, well, is Instagram doing this on purpose? Well... What was your takeaway? It's not that Instagram is saying, hey, we've got a pedophile network you can join here. No, it's just easy for these people to find each other on Instagram. Holy smokes, man.
Well, a lot of times the thing is they found that Instagram enabled people to search explicit hashtags like hashtag pedo horror and hashtag preteen sex and connect them to accounts. So it's like out in the open. It's not even a underhanded code message that is connecting these people. They were just allowed to, which that's one of those things that seems like it'd be pretty easy to clear up. And I don't know, Twitter was under the spotlight as well recently by the same organization that found this with Instagram. It's Stanford University and the University of Massachusetts Amherst that was talking about Twitter recently doing a massive operation to clean up child exploitation videos and content on that platform again. You know, you understand it's a constant battle to try to get these creeps off of those platforms, and you can't get everyone. But, man, when it's on Instagram and you've got an open hashtag like that where people are obviously mingling and sharing content and whatnot, it seems like it'd be pretty easy to shut that down sooner rather than later.
I mean, your list of things we have to shut down on Instagram. That's got to be in the top 3, doesn't it?
Right. It's
you
like
would think.
ISIS and pedophiles.
Okay, yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Well, just a short paragraph from the story. Pedophiles have long used the internet, but unlike the forums and file transfer services that cater to people who have interest in illicit content, Instagram doesn't merely host these activities. Its algorithms promote them. Instagram connects pedophiles and guides them to content sellers via recommendation systems that excel at linking those who share niche interests, the journal and academic researchers found.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you hadn't heard this story yet, Scott.
No.
And what's your reaction to that?
Well, I'm shocked and surprised, yet I'm not shocked and surprised. I mean, these are bad people. I said the difference is now we know about them because of the internet.
Yes.
Because of the darkness of said internet. But no, this crap can't go on. It's illegal.
You know, the left is always saying, people on the right are trying to make anything
Right, exactly.
into, grooming or someone being a pedophile. It's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insanity. Kids have to be protected. But as you see more and more and more, as people from the right, or to me, it's just common sense people, saying, hey, you want to go do your thing. It's a free country. No one's trying to silence you, okay? No one's trying to say, you can't exist.
Right.
All right? Stay away from the freaking kids. That's pretty much it. They can't do it.
No,
They
I'll
won't
say
do it.
Pedophiles can't exist.
Yes, when you're talking about
Yeah,
pedophiles.
right.
But as we've talked about before, there's an inner war going on in, we'll just say, the community. Because as you've said, I think you started this recently, you'll say LGB.
Yeah, and then
David?
you separate the TQ part. It's LGB, freak show, is how I would put it.
And that's where the big battle in that community is happening, because lesbians, gays, bisexuals for years have fought for certain rights, and now they see their whole movement hijacked by, you say, freaks?
Freak shows, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
stop.
Seriously, the way things are going, there will be a pedophile visibility day.
They're trying to normalize it with the whole maps
know.
thing. Yes. It's absolutely crazy. David, Bill Barr saying, hey, hold on.
Yeah.
We didn't shut down any investigation. This is, a 180 from what Jamie Raskin was saying.
Oh, yeah. So House Republicans say that the feds are actively investigating Joe Biden for bribery from back when he was vice president. And as we talked about yesterday, they're trying to get unclassified access to a form that details these allegations. FBI won't hand it over, and the logic is because it's still an ongoing investigation. And Democrat Representative Jamie Raskin came out and said, well, this matter has been closed. This is a whole lot of nothing. Lapdogs in the media are doing the same thing. Oh, this is blowing all out of proportion, whatever. Anyway, back to nonstop coverage of an alleged pee-pee tape with Donald Trump. And these losers. Well, Bill Barr was asked by the Federalist about that allegation that the investigation had been closed. And he goes, oh, that's not true. It wasn't closed down. He's as a former attorney general. He said, no, on the contrary, it was sent to Delaware for further investigation. No, none of that. So the Delaware investigation that's been going on, I know all of this stuff gets very deep in the weeds, but
it does.
It's not just Hunter Biden. It's what was Joe up to as well.
Yeah, with all of their relationships with foreign countries and the money coming in. I mean, we've talked about it several times, and now it's just common knowledge. But again, half the country doesn't know it. So you're waiting to see, is anything going to happen with this? But at least, the Republicans in the House are keeping pressure on this. I mean, the Department of Justice is covering for Biden and has been for a long time.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. And they're trying to get the truth out to all of the American people, I guess you could say. Okay. David, I know this is one of your favorite stories. The equity director that was fired. For what again?
Making racist and sexist comments.
You don't say.
Gosh.
Yeah, so in March of 2021, the state of Washington hired its first ever director of the Office of Equity. The director, Dr. Karen Johnson, got fired because of workplace harassment. Now, the governor, Jay Inslee, is denying that had anything to do with it. They were looking to revamp the Office of Equity, is what he has said. Some of the allegations include she told 2 people to wear makeup, say, hey, wear some lipstick next time. She told a white lady that she couldn't wear her hair in braids because it was cultural appropriation.
Nice.
She also fat-shamed someone, asking, you want to be married and have a family, don't you? If so, you have to take care of you. She gained a massive amount of weight.
Holy
It was a real problem.
Wow.
She referenced whatever this means, a self-identified Mexican. This way, I guess, someone with Mexican heritage. She said, and I quote, "This may take some time for me because I generally distrust Mexican people. Mexican people have the option of being white when it's convenient for them."
Is she channeling Archie Bunker? What is going on?
What was her title again? Job title?
Director of the Office of Equity for the state of Washington.
I don't trust you Mexican people. All right?
Yeah.
I'm all for the equity, but the trust has to be built.
I can think of 3 Mexican dudes right now who hear the statement, Mexicans have the option to be white, and they say, what the hell are you talking about?
So she's been fired, you say?
Yeah,
Nope.
she's been terminated, yes.
Okay, there's one. We can keep a list of 2023 people that deserve to get fired.
Oh, they'll eat themselves. All of them will eventually, yeah.
Actually, there's a lot that deserve to be fired that have. Well, I think that dude is out at CNN. We got to get to that. And Tucker Carlson's back. Big news there, straight ahead. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. Jamie Markley, David Van Camp, Scott Robbins. So Tucker Carlson returned last night to Twitter.
Yeah.
It's the new show. It was 10 minutes long. Some people were criticizing him for that.
Why?
I don't know.
It was too long or too short?
It was too short.
Oh. I just figured
like
it was
a monologue, and that's all it
It
was.
was a hey, I'm back sort of introductory sort of thing, right?
But not so much.
No, it wasn't. It was a little more detailed than that.
Dude, here's the start. I'll play it. And part of this is kind of, at least from what some people have said, one of the reasons he got let go from Fox is because they couldn't control what he was going to say, and he was very critical of the war in Ukraine. And that's how he started the show last night, saying,
"Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. This morning it looks like somebody blew up the Kakhovka Dam in southern Ukraine. The rushing wall of water wiped out entire villages, destroyed a critical hydropower plant, and as of tonight puts the largest nuclear reactor in Europe in danger of melting down."
Okay, everybody saw that story yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Might be a take you didn't hear.
So if this was intentional, it was not a military tactic, it was an act of terrorism. The question is, who did it? Well, let's see. The Kakhovka Dam was effectively Russian. It was built by the Russian government. It currently sits in Russian-controlled territory. The dam's reservoir supplies water to Crimea, which has been, for the last 240 years, home of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. Blowing up the dam may be bad for Ukraine, but it hurts Russia more. And for precisely that reason, the Ukrainian government has considered destroying it. In December, the Washington Post quoted a Ukrainian general saying his men had fired American-made rockets at the dam's floodgate as a test strike.
Remember that?
Yep.
That whole thing?
Yeah.
So really, once the facts start coming in, it becomes much less of a mystery what might have happened to the dam. Any fair person would conclude that the Ukrainians probably blew it up, just as you would assume they blew up Nord Stream, the Russian natural gas pipeline, last fall. And in fact, the Ukrainians did do that, as we now know. It's not like Vladimir Putin is anxious to wage war on himself. Oh.
And then he just lays it out from there. And I think that's why so many people said, I've missed that guy.
Oh, yeah.
With just a completely different perspective of something that, was a fairly big story, but not the end-all, be-all yesterday. And you hear this different angle of like, here's kind of what's really going on. And after a while of watching Tucker, I would say this, he's right most of the time. I'm trying to think of how many times he was wrong. He's right a lot. And people could say, well, he goes overboard sometimes. Okay, maybe. but his voice has been missed by a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so after this debuts, what was the last count you guys saw as far as people that had viewed it?
Saw over 60 million.
Yeah, I saw over 50 million. I didn't see 60 million, but yeah, I'm sure you're right.
And the important context, not to knock down the achievement, and I'll explain why in a minute, but Twitter counts a view as like 1 second. So if you're scrolling past, you see it go, boom, that's a play. Mm-hmm. But even if a small percentage of 60 million viewers were actually people that watched it, he still got at least the same audience that he had on Fox News every night.
Which is around 3 million.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we do this for a living. Did you guys know this was going to happen?
No.
I didn't either.
That's going to be the hardest thing about trying to really launch a show actually on Twitter as a platform, because Twitter wasn't really designed for that kind of appointment viewing or listening. Mm-hmm. It was more like it's just that instant scroll, right? You're constantly scrolling through new updates and things like that. It's hard to create a habit of going just to somebody's page every day.
Yes, but I think this is, possibly where it's different, and we'll see. So, as a regular viewer, say, of Tucker Carlson, I just had it DVR'd. So I would never watch it live, because I didn't want to go through the commercials, to be honest. So I would watch it whenever it would probably be convenient. And, but it was always sort of appointment listening. I wanted to know what he had to say. I think that can work the same way with Twitter.
It can.
I want to see what he has to say, so I'll go to Twitter, not just to scroll, but specifically for that information. We'll see, man.
And can cable pick this up?
People do it with podcasts all the time.
Can cable pick this up and run it?
If you're Tucker, who cares?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying as a viewer.
Maybe.
I just wondered.
Maybe.
I mean, why wouldn't
I think the first did it with Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll happen or not. We'll see. Really interesting, though. Oh, another note real quick. I know you guys talked about, maybe my love of hard rock music, heavy metal music. Did you know that it's good for you?
How so?
Hi, my name is Dr. Nicole Andrioli. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I want to explain why this makes total sense. Listening to any type of music can be therapeutic and can allow for an emotional release. Heavy metal is no exception. In fact, heavy metal has been found to lessen negative emotions by reducing cortisol levels, which helps to lessen stress.
Thank you. Appreciate that, doctor. Maybe you'd be less stressful, Scott, if you quit the air supply and get some more Iron Maiden. I'm here to help, man. Here to help. News update next, right here. Yeah. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. I'm Jamie Markley, the Gen Xer. David Van Camp, the Millennial. The sexy boomer, Scott Robbins. Okay. Parents' rights groups are like the KKK.
Yeah, the Southern Poverty.
Who says that?
We are really in the silly season, okay? The Southern Poverty Law Center, this joke of an organization, has added a bunch of parents' rights groups to the list of hate groups.
Okay.
Because they're objecting to how would they frame it? It's because they're somehow upholding white supremacist values and attacking the LGBTQIA two-spirit, Alpha, Epsilon, Twizzler crowd.
No one's attacking anybody.
Nope.
Saying stay away from the kids.
Stay away from the kids. No, you don't need fun. You don't need to talk to my kindergartner about his or her genitals. Okay,
right?
You don't. There's no reason for you to do that. But anyway, former FBI investigator Frank Figliuzzi, may have seen him on the Today Show.
That guy.
Yeah, occasionally he's on MSNBC. He says, "Hey, this is a great thing because those damn parents are like the KKK."
Okay, roll this nonsense.
It's part of the so-called culture war that they want us to believe is happening.
No. It is happening. And it's not a culture war. It's about protecting kids.
That our religious freedoms are being targeted. Our children are being targeted. And it's about as anti-freedom as you can be in reality, but that's not what they want. I hearken back to...
Okay, are we going to get to a specific at all here, you hack? No. Of course not.
No, and remember, rights and freedoms do not apply to state institutions. It's to the citizens, it's to the individuals. The state does not have a right in the sense that I have the right to free speech.
It's such nonsense, man. And this whole thing with parents, the kids belong to the parents, not to you, not to the state, not to the country.
I hearken back to decades ago when the FBI and the DOJ really aggressively targeted and successfully went after criminally the KKK. And what happened there was they took off their hoods and their sheets and they put on suits and ties. And they went local. And they ran for office. So this isn't the first time we've seen this going local mainstreaming of hatred.
No, see, you have the whole thing backwards. Okay, because what you need to do is look at who has changed outfits now. The pedos used to stay in the shadows, and now they're out. Okay, and they are, pretty much saying, we want to be around your kids. We are going to have drag shows in front of your kids. We are going to get people into education and become teachers to influence your kids and groom them. That's what's happening, and that's what parents are saying. This has got to stop. Yeah. No more.
Thought it was really interesting. There was another protest in, I believe this was Montgomery County, Maryland, where you had two sides of the debate over the LGBTQ stuff in schools.
Mm-hmm.
And you had, on one side, the people saying, hey, stay the hell away from the kids. You had many different races and creeds represented, particularly Muslims were there, outspoken against this stuff. On the other side, the people saying, yes, we need to be able to teach kids about sexual kinks and fetishes as early as 5.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly white women, mostly white liberal women. So, quite frankly, man. I mean, for Figliuzzi, it's pretty on brand as a member of the FBI to be extremely Islamophobic, but that's what he's being right now. You're telling all those Muslim parents that they don't have a right to expect that their kids will not be indoctrinated into an ideology that they don't support.
Oh, goodness, man. The story you talked about earlier with the Armenian Americans outside of the school board meeting in California.
Yeah.
Having had enough. When Muslim families get involved, it's going to go to another level. They're saying, no, you're not teaching that to our kids.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. And then the left's going to be in a real pickle.
Mm-hmm.
Which sides are you going to pick then? Yeah, that'll be very interesting. All right, it's that time of the show, going around the table. It might not be the biggest story of the day, but it certainly caught your attention. David, today, what's your story?
This can be short and sweet if you want. The guy in Connecticut, his name is Mark Brault. He owns a bunch of land. I think it's 114 acres, something like that. He is suing the state of Connecticut, claiming a Fourth Amendment violation. Now, why? Mark was apparently accused of feeding bears on his property. You're not supposed to do that.
Okay.
And he is alleging that the state rigged up cameras to a bear and unleashed it onto his property. So he's claiming, and I think he's actually got a good point here, he is claiming a Fourth Amendment violation because this was warrantless surveillance on my property. You rigged up a camera to a bear. He actually included pictures of said bear with said camera slung around its neck. He says, you knew what you were doing. You released it next to my property. It goes onto my property, goes up to my house. And so, therefore, anything that you have on tape, you need to delete. You need to take the cameras off the bears because you are spying on me with bears.
That's pretty good, man.
Oh, that's a great story.
All right, Robin, stop that. What's your story?
Well, my story concerns Pete Davidson and his buddy Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
Apparently, they were stoned to the bone when they bought the Staten Island ferry for $208,000.
Is this back-to-back days with Pete Davidson is your story? This is great.
He was asked, what are you going to do with this? He said, I got no idea what's going on with that thing. Probably shouldn't have bought it, he said. He admitted he had no idea. And he said, well, maybe we'll host a pre-party there after the Transformers Rise of the Beast premiere, which he's in. He said, hopefully it turns into a Transformer and gets the blank out of here so I can stop paying for it. Now, Pete is a renowned leftist, of course, and I have an idea, Pete. You could house migrants on that boat. Do your civil service. Step up, my friend. I know, when you used to drink with buddies and sometimes you, might buy something you shouldn't have bought?
Yeah.
I've done that.
What did you buy?
A racehorse.
Oh, yeah, that's a legendary story. But you were into it for a while. And you were educating, me and other buddies about, how this horse was going to make you a bunch of money.
You know,
cash in.
Never ran. Never once ran. Here's the thing. The thing is, don't drink, don't do drugs, and make decisions of any kind. All right? None.
I am so glad I had no money during my real partying days, because I would have invested in so many different things. That would have just ruined me.
David, I got an idea, man. Listen.
Yeah, it's like some late night, call this number now.
Yeah.
Used to be just some, ab blaster that you'd get at 3 a.m. This is a totally different level for Davidson.
But he bought a decommissioned ferry for $208,000.
My favorite is, as far as spending money, or maybe you're not sober. Years ago, back when you still drank, Scott, and I did, if a hotel room was under your name, we were going to have a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
The mini bar and everything else.
Yeah.
You get so mad.
Well, you check out, and they're like, an $800 bill. What?
It wasn't that bad. That was for
Markley.
a record label guy. Hey, my story today. You don't have to worry. You're safe here, Scott. David, you might have some explaining to do. New poll asked people, have you regularly slept with a stuffed animal as an adult? 23% of people said yes, 72% no, 4% weren't sure if they were wasted or what. So you're like, okay, as far as the stuffed animals, that skewed toward women, obviously. No. 22% of men say they have regularly slept with stuffed animals as an adult. 25% of women. Okay. And they're saying, okay, this could be more of a recent phenomenon because it's 35% of people between the ages of 18 and 44. When you get to Gen X, that number drops to 14%, 6% for boomers. So I ask you, David Van Camp.
Mm-hmm.
Dudes that sleep with stuffed animals?
Is it hot in here?
Have you?
I have.
As an adult?
Yeah, I have. I admit it.
Were you a furry? Is this coming out, Dave?
No.
What is going on? What?
The story that goes, it was years ago. My wife, now we were dating, living in Missouri in separate towns. I was up in Mexico, Missouri. She was down in Rolla, Missouri, about 2.5 hours difference. And she had left this big stuffed bear after one visit, after she first moved to Rolla, left it back at my apartment in Mexico. And so I just kept it in the bed because it smelled like her.
It's the look on Robin's face.
I'm sorry, Scott, but some of us actually loved our wives.
Wow.
Wow, man.
That's a stinger.
Well, I'm thinking, I don't want to know what's going through your mind, actually, Robbins. I'm not going to ask what you're thinking about because I think it was just an innocent thing because the bear smelled like his wife.
I know.
It's not going where your mind's going.
It's not fair. I wasn't there.
No, it's not like that. Oh, hold on a second. No.
No. That's what I'm saying. I'm telling Robbins because I can read his mind. I've been around him for 30 years. You were thinking it, weren't you?
Well, I didn't know if there was any snuggles going on.
I wasn't walking into the bedroom with a jar of honey.
Okay. This is why we can't have nice things.
Golly.
Yeah. I can tell by the look on your face, man, what you were thinking.
I know.
The CNN boss, he's already out. Is this because of the interview the guy did, or just because he sucks at his job? We'll get to that and much more coming up right here. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. Jamie Markley, David Van Camp, Scott Robbins. Okay, the head of CNN is out.
Yeah, Chris Licht will be stepping down as the CEO and chairman of CNN. Just, 13 months you were saying, Scott?
13 months, and you're done.
Grand opening, grand closing. He did last longer than CNN Plus, though.
They'll have to pay the rest of his contract, which was 18 months.
Yeah. So the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery said, unfortunately, things did not work out the way we had hoped, and ultimately that's on me. I don't know what that means. That's on me for hiring the guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess. Needless to say, we appreciate Chris's efforts and dedication and wish him all the best. And a lot of people are thinking this had to do with this big profile that he did in The Atlantic. That was called Inside the Meltdown at CNN. People who worked within CNN were mad at him because of the way he talked about the network and things like that. And I'm like, guys, y'all were getting beat by reruns of the Food Network. I mean, you had nowhere to go but up, and it's not his fault that you guys continue to suck.
Well, yeah, they lost the people's trust. They had the inner research inside CNN. Like, what happened to the viewers? You lost their trust. The Trump thing, and then COVID, and then Chris Cuomo, they just flat out lost people's trust. That was also part of it.
Well, apparently they're going to run this thing by committee now.
Yeah,
and I did a deep dive on this. Scientific research has indicated this has worked perhaps 0 times. No times has running things by committee worked. But they're going to do it anyway.
Well, I suppose for now. The other interesting thing, because a lot of people said, that whole piece The Atlantic did on him is what did him in. And, I'm certainly not going to sign up for a free trial of The Atlantic to read that hunk of crap. But, other publications have taken part of that story and made it their own story. And there was one in the New York Post, and it catches your attention because it says, Gym Machine, Chris Licht's 50-pound weight loss actually aided by Ozempic.
Yeah.
And apparently, had somebody following him around doing interviews, and while he's at the gym, he actually used the words, I'm a machine. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Now, do you get fired on that alone?
Yeah.
I've been corrected. Sorry. He didn't say that. Talking about his strict diet and exercise regimen. I'm a bleeping machine.
Of course, naturally.
Well, there's only one machine you can be.
That's right.
Well, that's not always true. I'm sorry to just, squabble here, Scott, but the woman that was Miss World or whatever under Trump was Miss Eating Machine.
Oh, that's true. He called me Miss Eating Machine, Miss Piggy.
Yes.
Yeah, that lady. So you can be an eating machine or a bleeping machine. The 2 machines are available.
Both of them are out of work, though.
Yeah, I think what really did him in, though, was the Mean Girls Club at CNN.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, Anderson Cooper, Jake Tapper, all these people who are going out and, in some cases, like Oliver Darcy, the Hall Monitor media reporter there now.
Yeah.
I mean, he, publicly is attacking his own boss. How do you not just immediately fire the guy? And that's the thing. To me, his downfall wasn't that they continued to be in the gutter in terms of ratings. The downfall was that he didn't just completely clean house. Say, listen, it's going to cost us X amount of dollars to pay out contracts or whatever, or keep people on the beach, whatever. We got to rebuild this thing. Because the bummer to me is there are a lot of good reporters. You never see them on prime time, but there are actually good reporters within CNN. You see that with, the Afghanistan withdrawal, people on the front lines. They're bringing the news. They can do good work. The problem is they have toxic people as the faces of their network.
Dude, I mean, think about this for a second. I mean, Anderson Cooper was going out there saying how horrible the network was because they did a town hall with the leading Republican candidate who was the president. That's crazy. Oh, we're giving him a voice. And Anderson Cooper, and people wonder what happened to him. I do have audio of him after he found out Chris Licht was fired. There he was. That was his reaction.
Giggly?
Okay, maybe that was an old giggle reel, but Anderson Cooper giggling, to me, is always funny. It's never not going to be funny. He's got quite the little giggle there.
He does.
Something else I wanted to bring up. Have you ever heard of the 2 beers and a puppy test?
No.
No, me drunk at PetSmart? What?
No, this is, if you have a person, you want to know if they're a real friend? Would you want to have 2 beers with them? And would you trust them to take care of a new puppy if you were out of town?
Man, that's a high bar.
That's how you know if that person's a friend or not. A real friend.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 beers, easy. You got a new puppy. You trust that person to take care of them. But I would say you're both in that category. Are you saying I'm not, Scott?
You're not.
Are you serious?
Of course you are.
David? Hello, David. Hello, David.
Where'd David go?
Are you ready?
Jamie Markley, David Van Camp, and Scott Robbins.
We just become best friends. Yep.
Making sense of it all
Now I get it.
and having some fun.
Lighten up, Francis.
This is the Markley
Joe, Jamie Markley, David Van Camp, Scott Robbins. A lot going on. It does seem to get crazier every day with the whole trans ideology. You have a clip, David. This is from a teacher?
Yeah, well, there was a big fight outside of a school board meeting in the Los Angeles area, Glendale School District. They were going to be declaring it Pride Month, or did you know it was Pride Month?
I heard something
when did
about
that happen?
I don't know. I haven't seen enough advertising about it.
That's a month that supports the Proud Boys, right?
I don't think so.
It's about I
don't think that's it.
It's about something else. Okay,
Is it about a family of lions?
Yeah,
I got it.
it's Lion King Awareness Month.
Yes. All right.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a large segment of the community there locally that's not really all that thrilled about not just Pride Month, but about putting all this, LGBTQ propaganda stuff into grade schools, into kindergarten classes. Like they're not cool with it. And so there was a fight because some communists, literally communists, they call themselves communists, and Antifa showed up outside to counter-protest. They started trying to mix it up. They got their asses kicked by rather large Armenian guys. And anyway, the school district went ahead and declared it Pride Month anyway. Inside the meeting, meanwhile, the freak shows were on full display. This is a lady who says she's a teacher in the district, but not only a teacher.
Roll it.
I'm also a community member who volunteers extensively in Watts in South LA, and I work at the Children's Hospital Los Angeles with queer and trans youth in large groups. And so I deal with a lot of their trauma related to the
You hear that?
heteronormative
Hold on a
Judeo-Christian-
second. Please tell me that wasn't someone snapping their fingers instead of applauding.
Multiple people snapping instead of clapping.
All right.
I don't know what the deal.
My first act of president is to make sure that those people are put down.
You mean like a pet?
Yes.
For their own good.
Right, yes. For all our good.
Put out of their suffering.
It's like a spooked horse that keeps kicking people,
Save society, man.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll get to the rest of the clip.
related to the heteronormative Judeo-Christian patriarchal imperialist capitalist system that oppresses them. And so 1 in 2 will attempt suicide, and 95% know that they are trans when they are 3 to 4 and 5 years old.
Yeah. They know they're trans when they're 3, 4,
3
or
or
5.
4, 5 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was the whole...
The heteronormative Judeo-Christian patriarchal imperialist capitalist system that oppresses them.
Well, that's our system. That's what it was built on.
Well,
Judeo-Christian values. So get the out.
Well,
please.
Also, again, I mean, it's not like Judeo-Christian cultures are the only ones who have a long history of establishing that men are men and women are women.
No, of course not. You know how you have Florida, Texas, busing migrants to different parts of the United States?
Yeah.
Can we round these folks up and fly them to Afghanistan? Different countries around the world where they won't be so oppressed? Just suggestions. I'm here to help, not to hurt. Just looking for ideas. I'm an idea guy, Scott.
I know, I get that. Yeah. Go to
Won't
China
work.
and snap your fingers for a while.
Yes, see how that works out for you.
Yeah.
Because you're so tired of the oppression here.
Patriarchal whiteness or what. This.
Well, you remember that time you were 4 and you knew you were a girl, and this whole patriarchal system kept saying, you're a boy, Scott. And you were held back forever? Oh, wait. Yeah, no one thought that then, of course.
Well,
It's just,
no.
come on, in the last 10 years,
Right.
because of a social contagion and because of nuts like this, that person should be nowhere near a kid. Every time she starts to go near, one of the Armenian Americans should take care of business. It could be woman on woman. But, man, if you do that, then they're going to say this woman identifies as a... Whatever. Just don't let them around the kids in the end. We'll go here to the Tucker Carlson story because he had his first show on Twitter last night. 10 minutes. And
surprised everybody.
It did.
Yeah.
It was a pleasant surprise. glad to see him and wanted to know what he had to say. He was talking about Ukraine, but then he made a broader point of what's going on in the United States. And what we just heard from that kook was a great example of what becomes, after a while, to some people, as normal. Because people are lied to every day. They never seek out, actually, the truth. And this is part of what he had to say last night.
Now everybody in power talks like that. Diversity is our strength. Trans women are women. Zelensky is Churchill. It's all self-evidently true. Doesn't need an explanation, and don't ask questions. Sound familiar? Of course it does. That's the pap they're serving us day after day in steaming, lumpy portions.
Steaming,
lumpy portions.
That was pretty good.
By this point, it's possible that American citizens are the least informed people in the world. Your average yak herder in Tajikistan knows who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. It's obvious. Does he think some skinny dude in a dress is actually a girl? Come on. That idea would never occur to him. You've got to be lied to at full volume over a period of years in order to reach conclusions like that. And of course, we have been. The media lie. They do.
We talk about it all the time.
Well, and this is a playbook. I know it's always risky to try to compare historical eras, but when you talk about the Marxist ideology behind a lot of this stuff, that's important. It's not just a buzzword. It's not just, meant to scare you. No, it actually is a Marxist ideology, which is basically you will accept things that are not true. And one good example of that is, I always forget how to pronounce it, Lysenkoism. It's named after a geneticist, a pseudoscientist, who found prominence within the Soviet Union under the communist regime. And what he did was completely reject, at the time, modern genetics. That the idea of passed down traits, the idea of a competition among species, because he said this idea of competition for resources was rooted in Western capitalism and imperialism. Whereas in his mind, what you could do, like specifically with planting crops, he said, well, the idea is that if you have two types of plants in the same quote-unquote class and plant them very close together, there's no way that they would compete for resources. They would look out for one another. Right. Of course, that's nonsense. And anybody who's ever farmed or even cracked a book about agriculture knows that's absolutely not true. Nature is about survival of the fittest. But he thought the idea of survival of the fittest was rooted in Western capitalist ideology that was evil. And so what wound up happening is that his ideas wound up taking root in the Soviet Union, and then millions of people starved to death.
Correct.
But people who were actually geneticists, people who actually knew that, were imprisoned and in some cases killed by the state because they wouldn't go along with it, because they were puppets of Western capitalism.
Exactly. And that's why you see, well, so many people in the medical field going along with this. Well, if this person identifies as a woman, then that's a woman. They know better. They really do. But then they start to buy in day after day after day, and because of pressure, they just succumb to the pressure and sort of go along with it instead of standing up, because you have creatures of comfort. But, if we want to change what's going on, people got to stop doing that. You have to stand up against it. It's crazy. Saw this, just a quick note. This was kind of wild to me. What happened in Cleveland? A couple of Browns defensive players were robbed at gunpoint by 6 masked dudes outside a downtown nightclub. Did you hear this story?
Wow, no, I haven't.
Yes. They're okay. And the Cleveland Browns coach, Kevin Stefanski, is certainly relieved that they're okay. But Greg Newsome II and Perion Winfrey came out of this club, and there's masked dudes. Here's your stuff. I don't know if they knew who they were. I'm guessing they would.
Yeah, they probably did.
Because, well, they're going to have some money, and we're going to be able to, steal a vehicle and get away with some cash here. But it doesn't seem like it used to be. Man, you don't want to pick on the football dudes.
Oh, those are big human beings.
Well, at least in their defense, I can tell you they were concerned about the health and safety of others by masking up.
Were they? Okay, well, that's good. I didn't see that part of the story, actually, but Yeah, okay.
They don't want blood on their hands.
Yeah, according to the report, one of the players returning to his truck around 3:30 a.m., masked suspects jumped out of a car, robbed him of jewelry before fleeing in his vehicle. Yep, thanks a lot. See you later.
Damn.
Yeah, Newsom wrote on Twitter, it's a cruel world we live in. No doubt, man. And you see more and more like crimes committed by groups of people where it's all coordinated, and a lot of retail theft. It's not just like one person. It's like 4 or 5, upwards of 10 people all coordinating how they're going to, go in and rob a store. Yeah. Absolutely wild. Meanwhile, in Japan, Pizza Hut there has a new limited time menu item. Sometimes these happen in other countries. Right. People in the United States get jealous. They start ringing corporate office and sending messages. We would like to have this here. I don't know if it sounds good to you. It's Wiener Coffee Pizza.
What?
It's Wiener Coffee Pizza.
How does this work?
It comes topped with coffee sauce and cream cheese and features a crusted liner with wiener sausages. It also comes with a can of whipped cream to add on top of the pizza as you like.
Whipped cream?
Apparently it's tongue-in-cheek, but based on a social media joke. Mm-hmm. Wiener coffee is how some Germans refer to as Viennese coffee, a sweet coffee with chocolate and whipped cream, but some young people took it literally. Mm-hmm. So hit up your local Pizza Hut if the Wiener Coffee Pizza sounds good to you.
That just sounded like an out-of-school meeting with my kid's kindergarten teacher.
Oh, man, and then you had to take that kid out of the school.
Exactly.
That day. Yeah, don't blame me for that.
They come in decaf?
Oh. See if this sounds familiar, Scott. A big chunk of Gen Z is just fine with the government spying on them.
Of course they are.
We will get to that much more coming up right here. Jamie Markley, David Van Camp, Scott Robbins. Okay, so a lot of Gen Z is just okay with the government spying on them, you say?
Yeah, a newly released Cato Institute national survey of 2,000 Americans. They asked respondents whether they favor or oppose the government installing surveillance cameras in every household to reduce domestic violence, abuse, and other illegal activity. Now, overall, only 14% of Americans support this idea. 10%, meanwhile, have no opinion one way or the other. Okay. Anyway, Americans under the age of 30 stand out, though. 3 in 10 of these Americans under 30 favor the government installing surveillance cameras in every household.
Oh, gosh.
Well, I mean, this is what happens in the cell phone generation. I mean, everybody's on camera anyway. They think, well, might as well let the government take care of me.
Yeah.
I also blame Elf on the Shelf.
For years in school.
Yeah.
Elf on the Shelf.
Yeah. That's true, too. The old elf. You know, I talked to a number of different people around that age that will also say, I don't want to give up to TikTok. And if you really want something to go viral and you want to cash in, you got to be on TikTok. Mm-hmm. Instagram's not enough, Snapchat, whatever. It's got to be TikTok. And then you're trying to explain that's a Chinese spy app. You ever try to have that conversation with someone that's younger? Why they shouldn't have it?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I haven't.
Beating your head against the wall.
Well.
And then I think to myself, a lot of this is happening, and people don't even know. And it could be their bank, like Bank of America, monitoring your purchases, tracking your emissions. Mm-hmm. I mean, and, if you're following this stuff, you might say, well, I read that they help fund abortions and, attack the Second Amendment rights. But they're monitoring your purchases and tracking your emissions, hoping at some point in time that, they're going to use this information to make sure you don't drive a gas-powered car?
Well, it's that, and also this is the precursor to a centralized digital currency system, which, the state of Texas, state of Florida, other jurisdictions have said, no, we're not doing that. We're not taking part in it. But the basic idea is, in the name of controlling the weather, they can say, well, you've used up your credit, your carbon credits now. So you're cut off. Sorry, you're not going to go see Grandma this weekend.
Jeez.
Had you heard that before, Scott?
No.
It wasn't that long ago, just to bring it up. And this isn't to pile on. But you had the attitude. David would be talking about people spying. It was when you got a smart TV, David.
Yeah.
Your wife bought the smart TV. You didn't like the smart part. You'd put the tape over the camera.
Yeah.
Don't want to be spied on. Scott would say, well, what do I care? Especially like on Facebook or something like that. I mean, it has then ads that I like. You've changed that attitude.
Well, a little bit, because now I've realized the error of my ways. And being an adult male, I'm able to, navigate life based on the information that's given me at the time.
Yes.
And if elected, my friends, I will.
No, you are not alone in that.
No, I just figured, well, who cares, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. But
exactly.
I'm starting to think differently now.
Oh, goodness. I mean, you think about 10 years, think about 5 years, how your attitudes on certain things have changed.
Oh, my gosh.
Some of the conversations we have right now, 5 years ago, you would have thought you were nuts.
Yeah.
Well, I took and you did too, I think we all did. I mean, 5 years ago, I was like, live and let live, man. Whatever. Not hurting me. Whatever.
Yeah, I used to fight you on that.
But that wasn't enough. Then they wanted more, and then they wanted more, and then they wanted more. It's like, hey, man, it's enough already, okay?
Yeah.
I was part of the live and let live crowd. Not anymore.
No, you must celebrate.
Exactly.
Yes.
I must be told what to do and do it according to what they tell me.
Yes. Hotels.com just released its first ever room service report. A lot of people going on vacation, staying at hotels. One of the things they did was list the most unusual room service requests. Like bison.
Bison?
Yeah.
In the room?
Just to eat.
Oh, okay.
I like bison burgers. It's good.
I do too.
Good.
Yeah.
Rice bowl for a dog.
Upset tummy.
Right,
maybe.
Exactly, yeah.
A cooked fish that the guests brought with them. Love that.
Pull it out of the bucket. Here you go.
David's favorite, the no-egg white omelet.
Yeah. Just all yolk, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Blowfish, melted ice cream, and number one was diet water. This is the Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. All right, David, biggest story of the day.
Biggest story of the day, man. There are so many things going on. You have CNN boss Chris Licht. He is gone. He has been licked, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
He's out. There was the massive fight breaking out outside of a school board meeting in California. I mean, people have had it with the pride nonsense. You get that sense that it's more and more and more people of all, races, genders, religious backgrounds who are just, we're done. We're fine. Just leave us alone. Bill Barr saying, no, we didn't shut down an investigation into Joe Biden and the bribery investigation. In fact, we shifted over to Delaware.
There's a lot to get to yet. Yeah. And a great quote from Phil Mickelson coming up. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. I'm Jamie Markley, Gen Xer. David Van Camp, the Millennial, the Sexy Boomer. Scott Robbins. Okay, this is an interesting story out of Arizona, and I don't understand why this happened.
Yeah, lawmakers in Arizona passed a bill that would ban teachers from creating porn on campus. This was introduced not in a vacuum. It's because 2 teachers were fired for making porn on campus.
You need a bill for this?
Yeah, apparently so, yeah.
Honest to gosh, man.
Well, Democrat Governor
Let's
Katie...
do porn on campus. Okay.
Well, here's the
we need a law to stop that sort of behavior. What is going on?
Here's the even wilder part here,
so
Scott.
Dumb. All right.
Democrat Governor Katie Hobbs vetoed the bill.
Oh, of course she did.
She says, while I agree that not all content is appropriate for minors, this bill is a poor way to address those concerns.
No, it's not. It's the perfect way. If you have to do it this way, yes.
The sponsor...
What is wrong with you? Golly. This stuff makes me crazy. Are you arguing for porn being shot in schools? You're arguing for it. How do these people even exist?
Killing me, dude.
God.
She's saying that it is written in such a vague manner that it serves as little more than a thinly veiled effort to ban books.
What?
Now, the legislation includes language which would ban sexually explicit materials, including those that are textual, visual, or audio. So, she's saying, well, okay, maybe we can agree that, you know, having your OnlyFans page hosted at the school isn't appropriate. But pornographic books in the library, we got to protect that at all costs.
So dumb. Just so dumb. That you know what? And then again, I go back to hey, you elected this idiot.
Did they really?
Well, I don't know. Sounds like they did. I know, but
okay. David, I'll ask you, being the millennial. Middle school, high school, were there like suggestive books somewhere in the library?
I remember there is a poem, and I can't remember who the poet was, where the last line was something like, "I wonder, can ghosts die?" And the related to your question, the thing that was funny is that some of my nerd friends figured out that it was actually a play on words because back in the day, die was another word for climaxing.
Got it.
And so it was like, oh my gosh. But no, I mean,
but it wasn't like, you know, cartoon pictures of a boy giving oral sex to another boy.
No.
Like there has been over the past several years now. So all of a sudden, you know what? We've fallen behind the rest of the world. We got to up our porn game in middle school. What the is that?
Let's welcome today's poet class, Barnacle Bill the Sailor.
Why is there such a fever pitch to make sure all these books are in the school?
Honestly,
and all you come back to is David saying because they want to diddle your kids.
I honestly don't get it. I just don't understand.
I think, again, there's two categories. I think there are people who are left-wing culture warriors and think anything that conservatives are opposed to must be something that should be celebrated because conservatives are always wrong about anything. And then, yes, there is a contingent of people that are just evil and want to diddle kids. And, you know, you have to decide who is on which side of that part. But, you know, take it on a case-by-case basis. But for the first group I mentioned, I always wonder, again, Genderqueer is one of these books, right, where it has graphic depictions of, I mean, yeah, anyway, yeah, we've gone through some of the stuff and that the content that's on or in that book. They don't actually know what is in the book because media tells them it's just about being gay inclusive.
Right.
Right.
Which that's not true. If you actually were to read the books, and I always love this when a parent shows up at a school board meeting and starts reading from those books, and the school board president or somebody else is saying, hey, hold on a second, we're on public access cable, okay? We can't just read this material. But you're going to give it to a fourth grader? Are you nuts?
You know what it reminds me of, man? The way media today is treating the Matt Walsh Daily Wire documentary, What is a Woman? How did they... Because what is that documentary? If you've seen it, you know. Walsh is going around trying to figure out exactly the trans ideology. And all it is people that are all for that are sort of either explaining or not explaining very well what it is. They bury themselves throughout the entire documentary, right? How does the media call it? They say it's an anti-trans video.
Yeah.
No, it's a documentary. Asking the question, what is a woman? And people won't answer the question because it just goes in circles. It's crazy. All right, let's get to Chris Christie. He announced he's running for president. Pence did today.
Yeah.
But Christie is already hammering Trump.
Yeah, former New Jersey governor, Trump campaign member Chris Christie, now running for president. And he went after Trump's daughter and son-in-law in a big way.
Oh, roll it.
Let me tell you something, everybody. The grift from this family is breathtaking. It's breathtaking. Jared Kushner and Ivanka Kushner walk out of the White House and months later get $2 billion from the Saudis. $2 billion from the Saudis. You think it's because he's some kind of investing genius? Or do you think it's because he was sitting next to the President of the United States for 4 years doing favors for the Saudis? That's your money. That's your money he stole. And gave it to his family. You know what that makes us? A banana republic.
Whoa.
I don't know if it was really our tax dollars. It was Saudi money, right? I mean,
yeah,
maybe he acquired it using our money, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, he's going to come out swinging, and there is no love lost between Jared Kushner and Chris Christie. And the Cliff
that
Notes
dates
version,
back.
of this is Chris Christie put Jared Kushner's dad in prison.
Yep.
Charles Kushner was the dad's name. He was initially being investigated for making illegal campaign contributions. His brother-in-law wound up going state's witness on him, turning himself into the FBI and giving information on Jared Kushner's dad. And as revenge, Daddy Kushner hired a prostitute to sleep with him. He filmed it and then sent it to the family, like to threaten. And then the family was like, no, hand that right over to federal prosecutors. Boom, he goes to prison. I mean, this is
Mr. Tough Guy.
There's some Goodfellas stuff that's going to be happening here.
Yeah. Wow, man. Well, and then he's going with that the same day. The news breaks that Live Golf, backed by the Saudis, does a deal with the PGA Tour, which Trump predicted would happen last July. We had talked about that yesterday. But man, and Trump was all applauding the deal. Yeah, they were coming together. And there are still, plenty of people in America going, hey, anyone remember 9/11 with the Saudis?
Yeah.
You have different people divided on this. But if you have followed the golf story at all, and you hear the heads of the PGA Tour saying, this was to bring the game together. It's been divided. And, okay, just cut the bull, okay? I'll play golf a little. Like this last weekend, I'm playing with a buddy of mine and two guys that I didn't know before, just met. We're having a fine time. Do you think we were fighting whether or not, are you team Live or are you team PGA Tour? No, it's just all entertainment. This inner war of golf. No, it's about the Saudis and their league, and then all the lawsuits with the PGA Tour, all of that stuff. So last night, and I'm talking with my son-in-law, and the whole family's talking about this whole thing and what it means, and we're watching news coverage of it, right? Mm-hmm. And it reminded me, and I didn't hear too many people bring it up, of what Phil Mickelson had originally said, and this ended up in the Mickelson book that was written by Alan Shipnick. And it was why he was talking to the Saudis to begin with, along with Greg Norman. And it's in the book, but part of that conversation, Mickelson was saying he had enlisted 3 other top players, and they paid for attorneys to write the Saudi Golf League's operating agreement, codifying that the players would have control of all the details. And he didn't pretend to be excited about hitching his fortunes to Saudi Arabia, admitting what ended up being Live Golf was nothing more than what he called sports washing by a brutally repressive regime. And the quote was, from Mickelson, "They're scary mother bleepers to get involved with. We know they killed Khashoggi," talking about the Washington Post reporter, Jamal Khashoggi, "and have a horrible record on human rights. They execute people over there for being gay. Knowing all of this, why would I even consider it? Because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reshape how the PGA Tour operates. They've been able to get by with manipulative, coercive, strong-arm tactics because we, the players, had no recourse. As nice a guy as PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan comes across as, unless you have leverage, he won't do what's right. And the Saudi money has finally given us that leverage. I'm not sure I even want the Saudi League to succeed, but just the idea of it is allowing us to get things done with PGA Tour." And you look back at that quote now, which is coming up on 2 years. I guess they got the leverage.
Mm-hmm. Well, I saw all these PGA guys, too, backpedaling, too. I know we come off as hypocritical now. Well, yeah.
Absolutely. And you can make the argument a lot of those guys lost out on cash. Because some of those guys were, some $10 million, $20 million. Other guys, over $100 million.
Yeah.
And they were to be loyal to the PGA Tour.
Yeah, right.
But as it happens in regular life, the company's not always loyal back to you, demanding loyalty, but won't give it back.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's sort of the way the whole thing went down, man.
Anyway, yeah, this guy's like, well, I understand how people could feel that way. However, we want to grow the game worldwide. And
that whole grow the game thing. Give me a break with that, too.
Yeah.
Man, oh, man. All right, another story that we had mentioned. This was out of the Wall Street Journal. Helicopter parents are showing up in the workplace.
What?
I can remember like 15 years ago, the whole thing about helicopter parenting and, it's got to stop. I had thought it had calmed down, I guess. Hadn't heard much about it. But showing up in the workplace, this is a new thing. Subheadline, anxious parents are filling out job applications, appearing at interviews, and mediating work conflicts.
With their kids?
Yes!
Oh, man.
I will say that all three of us have been in charge of hiring decisions at one point or another. I would say that I think I can speak for all of us that if an applicant showed up to a job interview with mom holding, like, I don't know, his brown paper lunch bag or something, or his Transformers lunch box,
right,
or whatever,
yeah,
that person wouldn't be getting the job.
No.
Unless he shared his chocolate milk with me out of his thermos.
Be careful, soon Mama's Boy is going to be a protected class.
Exactly. I mean, I thought the same thing, but I'm like, who does this?
They'll have their own month that'll be called Lack of Pride Month.
The only thing I thought, actually, what you were going to say, Scott, depends on what mom looks like.
Well, yeah. And I was going to say, does mom have a beard and a dress on?
So in the story, they talk about this lady that's going to this Dollar Tree in Loganville, Georgia, and she saw an angry woman on her phone entering in. Turns out the woman had just talked to her daughter, and there was a customer at the Dollar Tree where her daughter worked that had given her daughter a hard time, and she was out to give the customer a piece of her mind for the way she treated her daughter. It's like, holy smokes.
Gosh dang.
In the story, it says, anxious parents have shepherded their kids through high school, college, and a pandemic. Now they're entering the workplace. Recruiters and hiring managers say they are seeing an uptick in parents inserting themselves into their children's professional lives, calling up hiring managers, applying for jobs on their behalf, and even showing up on the job to help mediate conflicts.
Gosh dang.
Oh, yeah. They mentioned this resort, Smuggler's Notch, in Jeffersonville, Vermont. Hold your comments.
Okay.
So at Smuggler's Notch Resort, parents haven't only applied for summer jobs on behalf of their kids, they frequently try to sit in on the interviews. And the dude that was asked about it in the story said, a lot of times we don't allow that, but sometimes it has happened. Occasionally, the parents are allowed to stay.
This is the way you need to answer this, Teresa.
And it did seem that a lot of times this was moms with their daughters, but I think it also includes moms with sons. If it's dudes, too, you don't see that as much.
Mm-hmm.
But how can you, as you said, give somebody the job based on mom showing up? Doesn't that just say this kid's not ready for it?
Well, right away, mom's going to sit in the hallway while I interview daughter or son. I'm not allowed. You're not coming in here. No.
She going on dates with you, too?
Gosh dang.
All right. News update straight ahead. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. Jamie Markley, David Van Camp, Scott Robbins. Okay. Gee whiz, man. Let's get to the hotel story because I just saw something disturbing about the Girl Scouts.
Okay. The first and fourth largest hotels in the city of San Francisco are getting ready to go into foreclosure on purpose. The company that owns both, Park Hotels and Resorts, to say now that they are done making payments on the loans for the Hilton San Francisco Union Square and Park 55. They are done because it's not worth the investment, because they are worrying about deteriorating street conditions. They are concerned that no end is in sight to the to the rampant drug abuse, crime, homelessness, and all that. So it's better to just go through foreclosure than it is to continue paying on that loan.
Yeah, it's like the map for so many liberal cities. They're following the directions right to San Francisco. Now, some I don't think will ever get as bad because, say, for instance, Chicago, it's a little cold to be homeless in the wintertime.
Yeah.
At the same time, as far as the policies go, that's why you got so many businesses getting out of there.
Well, sure. They have options.
Absolutely.
And I saw the trailer of the new San Francisco tourism video they're throwing around now. Come on back. Beautiful city we got.
Yeah, they spent $60 million.
$60 million on this.
Wow. By the way, real quick story on the Girl Scouts. They are pushing the LGBTQ plus agenda. There is a new pride patch that you can earn as a Girl Scout if you complete some tasks. Yeah.
What tasks?
Yeah, we can get to that. This is the Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show.
Are you ready?
Jamie Markley, David Van Camp, and Scott Robbins.
We just become best friends. Yep.
Making sense of it all.
Now I get it.
And having some...
I'm sorry.
Oh, he must be good.
Okay.
I can't wait.
So, all right, so Mike Pence, former vice president, is formally now running for president.
Yeah.
I don't think he stands a chance, but it'll be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out, the dynamic between him and Donald Trump, of course. Had a lot of nice things to say about Donald Trump, actually. During
he usually does.
Yeah. Anyway, part of his big announcement was invoking baseball as being exemplary of American greatness. And I think it was just sort of going to the baseball and apple pie and, you know, the spirit of competition, the spirit of working hard to achieve a really hard goal.
Mm-hmm.
Washington Post fact-checked him on that analogy.
What?
Analysis. Mike Pence says baseball has a track record of American greatness. That's only if you ignore its many flaws and contradictions.
Oh, boy.
Are you? Are you kidding me?
Wow.
Guy does a metaphor,
Right.
okay, and you're going to really write this weeping thing? This weeping fact check of this?
We don't have any trans players. There's not enough players of color.
Now, I agree that the analogy is bad because of one big flaw with Major League Baseball, and that's that it hates you. Major League Baseball hates its fans. It hates its main audience. It hates its main constituency. It hates its players. It hates the people who have to broadcast the game. Major League Baseball hates you.
If you're new to the show.
Yeah.
Scott's a big baseball fan. David likes
Yeah.
to remind him that baseball hates him because of, well, some of their woke ideologies.
Yeah. Well,
what they follow.
It's not just Scott. Major League Baseball hates you, Jamie. It hates me. It hates you who are listening right now. It hates you.
Yeah. There are a lot of sports that hate you. But
I would
mind you
argue
picking on
almost
Scott
every
especially.
sport
Yeah, but
hates you if you use the same sort of lens to look through it.
I don't know though, man. In the last few years, Major League Baseball has risen to the top. All right, they've got a commanding 10-game lead over everybody else.
Well, the NBA's hated you for a while.
Right. See, I don't pay attention to the communist subsidiary, the NBA. I don't really follow the NBA, so you're probably right on that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's damaged the WNBA too.
Did Pence say anything about saving America's meat? Because that was probably my favorite speech that he ever gave.
That was his finest moment. Yeah.
2020.
We're not going to let Joe Biden and Kamala Harris cut America's meat.
With the passion he delivered that with. Still an all-timer to me. I wanted to give an update on the Girl Scouts. The Girl Scouts now, can now collect a patch for attending a Pride celebration. There's these new patches, okay? Again, as we say over and over and over, hey, Alphabet Mafia, stay away from the kids. They won't do it.
Oh, heck no, they won't do it.
And you can come to your own conclusion as to why, but they will not do it. So I saw this story, Daily Wire. Girl Scouts can now collect a patch for attending a Pride celebration, studying LGBTQ plus history, or creating art that celebrates leaders from the LGBTQ plus community. The Pride Month Fun Patch can be earned through participation in several different activities from a list of 20 recommendations, most of which seem designed to help promote the agenda. So you can attend a Pride celebration in June with your family or troop. It says You can read a children's book featuring LGBTQ plus characters. You can create rainbow flags to celebrate. Do I have to say the letters every time?
No, I get it.
Alphabet Mafia and Pride Month. Or memorize a poem by an alphabet poet. Draw a map of the United States and mark it on 6 LGBTQ historical landmarks and read about why they're important. You could also read about the Stonewall Uprising in 1969 and its importance to the LGBTQ alphabet community. Write a poem about that historic day. Now, this Pride Month patch for the Girl Scouts is designed for Girl Scouts of all levels and their leaders to honor alphabet history, to celebrate the diverse cultures and identities of alphabet people, and to acknowledge the many contributions of the alphabet community, what they've made and continues to make across this nation.
Yeah.
Stop buying the cookies.
See, it's not that little girl's fault. She's just
I said this
selling
years ago.
cookies for her.
Yeah, I know.
You
And
know.
if you really want to do her a favor, say, this group that you're selling cookies for, terrible.
Yeah, I'm going to tell her
There's
that.
better ways to use your time. It used to be a really good organization, but it's not anymore.
Come here, 8-year-old.
Run for your life.
Come here, 8-year-old. You know what? That organization you belong to, yep, they're going to send you to hell.
No, that organization.
They don't have the power to do that, but there is a pathway. Yeah,
I'm not going to have this conversation with an 8-year-old girl I don't know.
Hi
Are
there.
you going to buy the cookies?
I love the cookies.
There
I
are
feel
no
like
other
I'm
cookies you
supporting
like?
them. I don't know. I don't think about that when I buy the cookies. I don't think about what the rainbow patch is all about.
You don't think about the idea that this organization is okay with convincing 8-year-old girls to chop their breasts off when they're 12?
No, I don't. Well, they're not doing that.
I mean, that's part of the whole rainbow patch thing.
But you can't say no to the chocolate mints. So hey, not my problem about your breasts that are soon going to get cut off. I want my mints.
I think you'd look good in a beard.
God dang.
Is that a pile-on right now?
No, I somehow there's certain things I can separate. And a little doe-eyed girl looking at me off selling me cookies at the supermarket when I go in. I don't think about that sort of thing, and neither does she.
I understand that.
Yeah, okay.
I get it. I just can't. I can't in right.
I know.
I'm not
I
gonna
understand.
give a dollar to it.
I know.
Man. I can't do it.
understand what
And
you're
my-
saying. I get it. I
Daughters
do.
and Girl Scouts. It's
I
not
get
that
it.
ain't it, man.
Yeah.
It's at some point in time, you got to stop supporting stuff that's just freaking evil.
Trying to help her win the pizza party by selling the most cookies.
Well, you wanted to help her get the patch, don't you?
I didn't help her get the patch.
But now she's going to come to your door. She wants the patch. Will you help her get the patch?
Well, no, I'm not going to help her get that patch. I'm not going to help her get any patches. You have to earn those on your own. I'm not helping.
Yeah, you could teach her the lyrics to Bicycle Race, and that'll help her get the patch.
There you go.
It's a poem by a prominent LGBTQIA keyboard mash community
it was
member.
Before him, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
It's just disgusting.
Yeah.
Man. And meanwhile, totally different story. The Human Rights Campaign. What a joke the title of this group is.
Oh, yeah, Human Rights Campaign for the first time. I love this. And really, this is a twofold story here. It's how media is covering it. And one great example is CBS News. For the first time in its more than 40-year history, the Human Rights Campaign on Tuesday declared a state of emergency for LGBTQ plus Americans, issuing a guidebook along with a national warning to help ensure safety for both LGBTQ plus residents and travelers alike. And as the story goes, they say there are more than 525 anti-LGBTQ plus bills introduced in 41 states, creating an increasingly hostile and dangerous environment. Nowhere do they ever explain what these so-called anti-bills are. They don't do that.
Staying away from puberty blockers and transfer, all that stuff is what it's about. And they just go on with that. And media just gives them their talking points because it's all propaganda. It's disgusting. Wouldn't you like to see like a big-time CBS anchor get a script to read this sort of nonsense and say, I can't do it. This is a big freaking lie. And I can't do this anymore. I quit today. Change the script or I quit. I'd have respect for that person.
well,
I'm not
it ain't
expecting
gonna
it to happen.
No.
Here's the other thing. So this whole state of emergency, okay, and that's what the president of this group said. They're living in a state of emergency. Yes. The multiplying threats facing millions in our community, they're real, tangible, and dangerous.
What are they exactly?
Okay, now if, say, just a little while ago in this country, you were to tell Asian Americans right now, okay, head on a swivel, because an attack could come from anywhere. There could be people that will just, fist to your face to beat you. They may push you onto subway tracks. Be very mindful when you go out. You would believe it because you saw the video evidence of it.
That's what I mean.
It was story after story after story of random Asian American citizens getting beat up, sometimes killed. That you would understand. This freaking nonsense, where's the example?
Yeah, you create a climate with no evidence.
They're persecuted. They're attacking the community. Attacking the community. What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Standing up for kids?
Yeah, that's all we're saying. Leave the kids alone.
That's
all we're saying. Leave the kids alone.
Oh no. Don't go into the chorus. All we are saying.
Leave the kids alone. I was actually going to go Pink Floyd on you. Prophets in 1979 who said, "Hey, teacher, leave those kids alone."
Okay, where do you want to go next, David? The whole thing wears me out, man. It's so disgusting. You want a clip from Tucker? We can get to that in a few minutes.
Let's do the. We'll go to the Tucker thing, I guess, coming up in a few.
Okay, we can do that because you also have audio of this idiot, former FBI official, talking about how government is only policing thought so they can prevent violence.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. Jamie Markley, David Van Camp, Scott Robbins. So Tucker Carlson debuted his show on Twitter last night. Had a lot of interesting things to say in just over 10 minutes. Was highly entertained. He talked about the media. Basically, that the media, as we talk about, it's propaganda for the most part. And mentioned a lack of curiosity on a number of different things.
What's happened to the hundreds of billions of U.S. dollars we've sent to Ukraine? No clue. Who organized those BLM riots 3 years ago? No one's gotten to the bottom of that. What exactly happened on 9/11? Well, it's still classified. How did Jeffrey Epstein make all that money? How did he die? How about JFK? And so endlessly on. Not only are the media not interested in any of this, they are actively hostile to anybody who is. In journalism, curiosity is the gravest crime.
Which is what it was all about before, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that a lot during the whole Russia hoax. How few people were willing to even wonder, hey, is it possible that this isn't true? And actually even play. I mean, at the time, you would say even playing devil's advocate. But it's more like just asking the question. And I think actually Tucker put it pretty well a few weeks ago on his first video after being fired from Fox News, is the most important question to ask when anything is brought up is it true?
Right.
Is it true? That's it. You don't have to, stake a claim on it. You don't have to say this is going to be the hill I die on, blah, blah, blah. No, you want to know the truth. You want to know whether or not something is a fact and whether or not something is wrong. And there is just way too cozy of a relationship between national level so-called journalists, the intelligence community, and the Democratic Party.
Absolutely. I mean, think about COVID. You couldn't ask basic questions.
Yeah.
Hey, wait a second. Everything that I've read, what makes sense, it had to come from that lab. Oh, xenophobic.
Yeah.
Shouted down.
It was racist.
I mean, and then you look at the history of the world and totalitarian regimes. Wow, this looks familiar. It's what's happening in this country right now. All right, you have this clip of this former FBI official. This is a joke.
Yeah. Former FBI director, he was an investigator, an agent with the FBI, Frank Figliuzzi. Mm-hmm. He was on MSNBC saying, hey, it's a great thing that groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center are adding parents' rights groups to the list of hate groups. He says the federal government needs to start bringing the hammer down on conservative activists.
Unbelievable.
The far-right extremists want us to believe that the big bad government is trying to police our thoughts, our ideologies. And, of course, that's not true. They're trying to prevent violence. And as you said, the problem, the challenge is the tools still aren't in the toolkit. We still don't have a law in the federal books against domestic terrorism, and that deprives law enforcement of the ability to get out ahead of violence.
This guy.
Oh, yeah. He's wanting this to be Australia.
Well, sure.
And usually that's what the whole gun grab is about.
And if he doesn't make these outrageous claims and all this stupidity, he doesn't get asked back.
Oh, yeah, that's the job.
That's what he does. He sits around all day thinking, what numbskull thing can I say now?
Well, you think about Adam Kinzinger, and you brought him up earlier in the show, Scott, because he, had some sort of commentary on Tucker Carlson being back on Twitter. And what was it that he said?
He is pure evil, or something like that.
Still evil?
Yeah, still evil, whatever.
And that's it. And what's that about? He's got to have a job.
Well, it's jealousy out of his case. I think he thought he was going to parlay this thing into something big, and it didn't happen.
What, going to CNN?
No, just doing the J6 thing and alienating all the Republicans and then parlaying that into a lucrative career on the Yakking Heads shows. And he didn't. I haven't seen him anywhere.
He was really, really bummed out when he didn't get that co-host gig on The View.
Yeah. Yeah. Might as well.
Seriously, when did this guy become like a bitter 48-year-old liberal woman?
Boy,
I don't
know,
understand
but
this.
He's there, man. And if
I think it happens slowly, and it's job survival.
You talk about the impact of that day. But you guys won. You guys held. Democracies are not defined by our bad days.
He's not masculine enough for The View. This is the Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins show. All right, biggest story of the day, David?
Biggest story of the day is just now breaking in details. This is huge.
Yeah.
Matt Walsh with the Daily Wire. I don't want to give too much away right now, but what he did was he had a producer get approved to have his testicles removed, and it took about 20 minutes.
Holy
on a
smokes.
telehealth conversation.
Oh, my gosh.
Remember, this used to take years.
Yeah.
Under a doctor's supervision. We're talking 22 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow. Cannot wait to get into the
Takes
details
me 2
of that.
weeks to get in with the nasty hack.
And the Scott Robbins trifecta coming up. Yeah. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins show. I'm Jamie Markley. That's David Van Camp. There's Scott Robbins. This story is nuts. Pardon the pun.
Yeah, it is a pun, unfortunately. Matt Walsh with the Daily Wire is doing the type of journalism that outfits like 60 Minutes used to do.
Totally agree.
He is exposing what certainly looks like a large insurance scam going on in this country. There are telehealth services that approve sex change procedures for people for insurance purposes. They give the recommendation, this person needs this, send it off to the insurance provider. Insurance provider says, okay, well, this nurse practitioner, this doctor signed off on it, so we're going to cover it, at least in part. The biggest one of these telehealth services in the country is a thing called Plume. Now, Greg Ree is a producer currently for Matt Walsh. He actually was the head writer for Tucker Carlson as well.
Okay.
He provided a fake name to Plume for a consultation. By the way, he went by Chelsea Bussey.
Wow.
Yeah.
And got that past everybody.
Did. Yep, sure did. He stated that he had never had gender dysphoria for 6 months or longer at a time. That means technically, under the Trans Healthcare Manifesto, he was not suffering from gender dysphoria because he'd never had it for longer than 6 months at a time. But Plume said, oh, well, we'll set up a call with a nurse practitioner. to talk to you. He was introduced and scheduled for an interview. He didn't attempt to pass. He badly mispronounced the name of the surgery he wanted, made it clear he didn't know what the effect the surgery would have.
Made it clear he didn't know, like, all these different things that would happen if he had the surgery. Made that clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
The nurse practitioner on the phone said, or on the Zoom call said, well, I want to write the most solid letter possible to justify this surgery. Gregory told her that, well, one time I wrote an essay in school about being a woman, which everyone thought was ridiculous because I looked like a man. Greg also told Plume's nurse practitioner that his father had been prescribing him hormones for years. The nurse never asked any questions about this. Instead, she said, hey, this arrangement's perfect. 3 days later, after a 22-minute-long Zoom call with a nurse practitioner, Chelsea Bussey, who does not exist, there is no person, at least, that is seeking this type of procedure, doesn't exist. Plume sent a letter saying he was experiencing significant ongoing gender dysphoria, and the letter strongly recommended Chelsea for testicle removal.
Wow.
Wow, man.
Well, see, they care about you. It's life-saving care.
Yeah.
It's not about the money.
And one text exchange with the nurse practitioner, he said, hi, thanks for getting back to me. I was just saying, I don't feel dysphoric right now, but is it okay if I keep this letter? Just, like, keep it handy just in case? And the response was, okay, well, the surgery is related to the gender dysphoria, which you were diagnosed with. It is controlled with HRT, but in order for the surgery to be paid for, it will need to be related to your gender dysphoria, which you are diagnosed with. Does that make sense?
So I guess yes, you can keep the letter?
Yeah.
Just in case I change my mind again?
Yeah. Plume and Folks, according to Matt Walsh, raised more than $45 million last year. Wow. Those are two big telehealth organizations for people seeking this type of stuff. There's a place called, Craft Ventures, venture capitalist firm, just led Plume's $14 million fundraising round. Insurance companies, Aetna, United Health Group, Cigna, work with Plume. They are paying out for surgeries based on what is, at best, a violation of the standards of the medical industry as they are written, even the pro-trans ideology medical establishment.
Correct.
This
Not
is
to
a
mention
scam.
what it does to your insurance prices.
Right.
Oh, my goodness, man. Great job, Matt Walsh. In some ways, you're speechless from it.
Yeah.
And in some ways, you're not surprised at all.
I'm really not surprised. It was shocking to hear that. But at the same time, it's like, well, that's where we are, man.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, Walsh was the one, well, I would say, that broke a lot of this news.
Yeah.
But the one thing, and I remember when he was talking about the audio from Vanderbilt, that was actually on their website for everyone to see. They just happened to catch it when they were talking about how much money this could make. Mm-hmm. We have a little clip of that, I think, don't we?
Now, these I got from the internet, but it's from the Philadelphia Center for Transgender Surgery, which does a lot of surgery for patients. And I just want to give you an idea of how much these bottom surgeries are making. And I think this has to be an underestimate. This is for a vaginoplasty. They're quoting roughly around $20,000 for a vaginoplasty, but that doesn't include your hospital stay. That doesn't include your post-op visits. That doesn't include your anesthesia, your OR. So I would think that this has to be a gross underestimate.
See how much money you can make?
Well,
and then she goes into, the paper. And that, if I remember right, was closer to $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have also a patient for life because you got to keep going back.
Yeah.
When you described one thing that you have to do that I don't even know that we can't even do
graphic.
it on the show.
Yeah,
it's sickening, man.
Yeah, I really don't want to talk about it. It is stomach churning stuff, what these butchers are doing to people, including kids now. And I for the people who might push back at this being a bad thing, how many stories have we seen over the years about doctors just sort of writing scripts for painkillers or antidepressants or Adderall or whatever, and especially post-pandemic when telehealth became such a big deal, we've had drug shortages in part because a lot of people are getting prescriptions that otherwise they would not get. And those are legitimate scandals. Walgreens just paid a huge settlement because they were facilitating painkiller distribution at a rate that the Fed said, no, that was illegal. You should not have been doing that. But in this
when you
case,
have that much money, you can still pay out those lawsuits, and it's still worth it to you in the long run to do what you're doing. That's how all the pharmaceutical companies stay in business. They've paid out billions. It doesn't matter. It's still worth it in the end. That's a crime. People should go to jail over this. I mean, it's insurance fraud. I mean, there's so many different angles to that. Wow. Okay, keeping an eye on that. You ready for your big three, Scott?
Let's rock and roll.
All right, move on to this.
Are you ready?
1, 2, buckle my shoe.
It's the 3 most important news stories of the day.
I hit the trifecta.
Well, at least according to Scott Robbins. It's the trifecta on the Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show.
Right around this time every day, the Scott Robbins trifecta, helped by his hero.
Hi, it's me, Casey.
Hey, buddy.
Casey Kasem.
How you doing? You doing okay?
Good.
All right.
I'm ready. 3.
You have a crazy story about a member of the House of Representatives, Scott?
Yeah, this is Vermont Representative Becca Ballant. Don't hear about her a lot. She seems pretty kooky, some of the things she does. But Tuesday evening, she took to Twitter with a clip claiming children should not be part of the gender ideology conversations. And also that people are trying to bring them every single meeting she's in. She said enough of that. She is a Democrat. And the blowback was immediate.
Wow.
Immediate.
So, okay, just so I understand, this Democrat is saying, hey, let's stay away from the kids?
That's all she's saying.
Wow.
Let's not include the kids in this stuff, all right?
Yeah, agree.
And all of a sudden, the blowback becomes ratio this monster. I mean, this is the type of stuff, man.
Yeah.
Somebody who is a Democrat, who doesn't appear at the altar they want you to worship at,
that's right,
is excommunicated and ratioed to death.
That's right.
Yeah.
And all she said was sterilizing kids is not okay.
Wow.
We're getting closer and closer to number 1.
Scott Robbins trifecta, number
2.
Canada's tolerance meter just broke. I'm not entirely sure what those words mean together.
Well, you guys hear about Pride Month this month? By the way, have you heard about that?
What? No.
Yeah, it's everywhere. A teacher in Londonderry Junior High in Edmonton unloaded on students who opted not to attend a Pride event. I quote, "You can't be Canadian if you don't believe that people can't marry whoever they want. You don't belong here."
Wait, hold on a second.
Yes.
Is that a real quote?
Yes.
What is the quote again?
You can't be Canadian if you don't believe people can't marry whoever they want. You don't belong here.
Well, you can have your own personal beliefs. I understand what the law is there, but
Now,
you can't control thoughts.
There is a large amount of Muslim pupils in her school when she said these things.
Uh-oh.
I guess she missed an important part about Islam, right? It's opposed to homosexuality. They may not be what she believes is the reality. Of course, reality and progressivism don't go hand in hand, but she just pissed off the wrong people. So the blowback and firestorm has already started, and they say, hey, look, we're okay with you being a teacher, but you can't do this. You can't be telling our kids this stuff. And, of course, the blowback on the other end now is you came to this country, you abide by our rules, and this is our rules, and screw you, Muslim students.
Well, with the left, they eat each other eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
Yes.
And the countdown continues.
The Scott Robbins trifecta. Top 3 stories of the day from Scott. And number
1.
Number 1, CNN has a new climate change piece that's raising some eyebrows.
Well, here it is. If gas guzzlers disappeared from U.S. car lots by 2035 and were replaced by zero-emission vehicles, the nation would see 89,300, very specific, lower premature deaths in 2020. Okay?
Okay.
Now, there are no receipts attached to this, by the way, which is part of the problem.
I had no idea my truck was killing babies. Huh.
Yeah, apparently it is, David. Apparently it is. Also a good reminder that 82.6% of stats are entirely made up.
Okay, how many deaths by what time again? I thought 2020. We're past
if
that.
the gas guzzlers disappeared from the U.S.,
yeah,
and by 2035, are replaced by zero-emission vehicles, the nation would see 89,300 fewer premature deaths by 2050.
2050, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was going to say they're time traveling. I don't understand any of it. None of it makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, during the break, I'm going to go turn my truck on idle just to piss them off.
And there you have it.
There you go. Okay.
David Van Camp's doing his part, man.
Well, you don't want to sweat when you get in it.
Right,
No,
exactly. You
nice
got to cool it down.
You kidding me?
Crank that AC, baby.
Okay, before the trifecta, that story, David, with Matt Walsh and the surgery. Wow. We'll be watching that. News update and Nimrod's in the news coming up. Explaining it in a couple of sentences.
Mm-hmm.
The Matt Walsh from Daily Wire story of what he's done.
Yeah, what he did was he did some investigative journalism into a large transgender telehealth company called Plume.
Mm-hmm.
And got a producer, Greg Ree, to get an appointment, and he wound up getting a letter of recommendation and a gender dysphoria diagnosis in under 22 minutes. So he got approved to get his testicles removed with a 22-minute-long Zoom call.
And what's amazing, saying that he did not have gender dysphoria for longer than 6 months.
Yeah.
It's like it comes and goes.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I know. What is that?
I know.
They just rubber stamped the whole thing, and and he used a fake name, Chelsea Bussey.
Yes.
And they sent this letter to this person that doesn't exist. It's incredible.
I think you can't say enough. In less than 22 minutes on the phone.
Yeah.
And part of the letter, I was reading the letter myself. From, and this is a nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
She has identified as her affirmed gender for 6 years. Has been living as or expressing her affirmed gender for over 2 years. She has been on hormone therapy since April 2021. Okay, well, that's not what they said on the phone.
No. And there's, and the thing is, too, they never verified any of that.
No, they did not.
It just take your word for it, whatever. I like what Greg Price put out on Twitter in response. In America, it's easier to get your testicles removed than it is to buy an assault weapon.
Yes.
Wow.
Depending on the state, but yeah.
Wow. Okay, and the thing is, most people in the country won't know this because no one will cover it, even though that is, as I forget who pointed this out, your classic 60 Minutes type reporting.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what it used to be about. And you'd watch and go, oh, my gosh, I can't believe they're actually doing that. These corporations, and now
Scott
journalists
Belly
are part of it.
Go undercover as Sasha.
All right, we got to get to Nimrods. Roll it out.
When the going gets tough,
Damn it, this is too hard.
the dumb get dumber.
All right, Dean.
It's Nimrods in the News on the Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show.
I love the poorly educated.
All right. Nimrods in the News. We go to Rhode Island. 32-year-old man there, Benjamin Nadrosky, is facing 4 felony charges. What did he do? Well, he admitted to breaking into some homes to steal adult bedroom novelties.
Oh, boy.
Get this, which he planned to give as birthday gifts.
Well, it's a gift that keeps on giving.
It's used.
Happy birthday, Grandma.
There you go.
Oh, man. So the robberies occurred over the last few weeks. He was also caught in the process of stealing a makeup kit from another home, and another homeowner caught him trying to break through their bathroom window.
Oh.
In that case, he later told police he was attempting to buy weed, but he was just at the wrong place. So in addition to the felony charges, he's also been ordered to complete a mental health screening. Good idea. And that's Nimrod's in the news.